Now, when it comes to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, well, now, if you are ready to see how Drake is fed up, and after all of the drama around a song leak and so many other L's, he is now begging to get off of his tour and is showing how bad he really is right now, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because with every like today, we are going to get one step closer to fully debunking the newest piece of propaganda that the Ice Spice Man has put out there. And honestly, what I will say before we get into this is that I was going to take the day off today, but as I heard an owl making noise outside my room and I could not sleep, this had to be symbolism or something. And Drake, we are going to give you the work one more time and leave a like for that. And so now, what I will say going into this video that is going to be a topic that will be prevalent throughout the whole thing is just this idea of duality, and specifically what I am focusing in on, well, it's not just Kendrick Lamar and Drake, but are also such things as the truth and lies, and well, winning and losing. And now, speaking of losing, this is where we are going to start off today, as currently with the Cupcake Karen. Well, after doing whatever we even want to try and quantify the whole leak and the issues around it as, Drake is showing that he really is losing his mind right now, and not in a way that you would expect, but seemingly because he is tired of just doing the lame old Some Karaoke Shows For You tour, or whatever the friggin' thing is called. And the reason we know this is because Drake made a post where he was showing how the tour is going, and beyond some of the weirdest pictures you will ever see that show that Drake is just about as funny as a brick wall, Drake has revealed that he really is tired of being on the road and that he absolutely hates touring, which, I mean, if you have seen his shows, seen how he has forgotten lyrics, and seen so many of the other disasters during this thing, this is not surprising whatsoever. But really, when we put together that the only thing that Drake has been able to say publicly outside of his lazy weird Iceman episodes have just been him counting down when the tour is gonna be over. Well, I mean, as you see one guy in Kendrick Lamar just booking more venues and trying to level up how he is performing and how his music is reaching ears as a whole. And then, well, you have Drake, who is sending out signals about how much he doesn't want to be doing this. Well, once again, we are finding out genuinely how much Drake despises what he is doing, and how with this entirety of the European tour that he has been doing, and then also the Anita Max Win tour before this. I got news for you, Drake stans, and you're not gonna like this, but Drake is not doing this because he wanted to reach these audiences again, and he's trying to do anything in these areas whatsoever, but seemingly, and he ended up revealing this in a leaked message where he was trying to impress a girl, but all he ended up doing was just looking more insane than ever. Well, Drake is stuck doing these shows because he has been forced to by the deals that he has chosen to pick, so that he can brag about how good his deal is to everybody else on his songs, when meanwhile he is the only guy who can't go home if he does not want to. And once again with this, well, as a theme throughout this video, as we talk about the lies that Drake has tried to put on Kendrick Lamar later, is about how he is this puppet of the industry and he is being controlled. I mean, for Drake, once again, to try and point at somebody else when you are literally the thing that you are dissing, if you just took a second to look in the mirror and see it, I don't even know what we are doing, because genuinely now, from finding out that UMG owns the entirety or almost the entirety of Drake's masters from the lawsuit, to knowing that he has been put in a deal with his label, Live Nation, and all the other touring partners that is making him do shows pretty much whenever they tell him. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that remix really may have had some more powerful lines than "Yo, Dot, I got you," if you remember what I'm talking about. As Drake genuinely is a puppet of the industry, and there is no other way around it, because again, when you see the way that he is literally begging and counting down the days until he can go home, which literally no other artist does this, as for most and pretty much everybody in the music industry, well, they want to promote their tours and show how fun they are, and despite them being exhausting at times, which is something that like Tyler the Creator has talked about, there's still such a clear passion and joy to bring the art form and what you're doing to your fans. Well, for Drake, we have seen the shows. Again, you can look at it right here. You know there is no sort of love for the game here, and he is only doing this out of obligation, which once again, when you try to compare this and put this in the same conversation with this, just stop doing this, because as Kendrick Lamar is on an artistic mission, and he is trying to achieve something so significant that has never been done in the history of hip-hop, and while the other guy is literally just showing up to shows more lazily than the last and is only doing it because he has no other choice. I mean, if you can't just tell that everything for Drake has been a grift, I don't know what to say. Well, to be honest, just seeing Drake really begging to be put out of this tour, what I do wonder with the suit and just the lack of self-awareness on his part is if it's possible with everything that he is doing that Drake really is just trying to get away from all of the control that he has given up, pretty much just told the label they can have, and this is a last-ditch effort on how to do that. But once again, as we are in an era in music where artists are not getting into Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson-like deals where they are losing so much, and while most of these guys have made pretty favorable deals later in their careers especially, and just look at the other guys in the big three, both Kendrick and J. Cole, they have done just that. Well, for Drake, you knew what you were doing when you signed whatever deal you did, and now you have to live with those choices. And speaking of choices, well, Drake and OVO have done some other shameful things, as right in this time in hip-hop, where Kendrick is about to come back outside soon, and Clipse is continuing to expand the very spirit and essence of hip-hop, as they just brought rap music to the Vatican, which don't let anyone convince you that this is not of the utmost importance, and it's not one of the most legendary things we have seen any artist do in years. Well, with this, with the king on his throne and rap's other first teamers just literally playing rap at a performance that looks like this, the losers are spiraling and panicking bad, as Drake and the machine who keep the OVO fans going and the losses and delusion coming in, they are worried and they're trying to twist these moments and make it all look like seemingly nothing. And the way they are trying to do this is with the narrative of the week, which is now what you see right here, which is this graphic that is showing that there is only 4 rap songs in the global Spotify 200, and there was 56 just a few years ago, and while this is now an all-time low. And of course, what these calculator-loving music listeners have done is pulled out their Scantrons and gotten to blaming Kendrick Lamar for all of this and the dot era that we are in as a whole, and with the Ice Spice Man for the Ice Spice Man now being outside and just trying to push this across, all to say that Kendrick is a net negative for hip-hop and that we need Drake back? I mean, this is where things get weird today, is now all of these grown men who call themselves the Icemen for the Ice Spice Man, they are running their mouths and saying how Kendrick Lamar did so much bad for hip-hop and all the beef brought was division, and you know who you are where I'm calling you out like that. And really now, with these grown men just whining and crying in any way that you can think of, I mean, shocker, the guys who support Drake in 2025 are embarrassing themselves. But now I'm not going to entertain any of this delusion anymore, and we're just going to get to the bottom of the weird lies that when we even see how Drake has been moving on social media and the messages he has been putting out there, from both posting himself to then doing some weird subliminal liking that is very anti-Kendrick. Well, even he is trying to put this on Kendrick. And now while there are people putting up the Batman signal with the OVO logo in it to try and say that this is why rap needs Drake, and once again, you know who you are. First off, do I have to remind you that the guy has released almost 100 songs since the beef? And I know this is crazy for the OVO fans. With this, it could have literally been his era, and he could have songs on these charts just like anybody else could if they just made decent music. Well, I know now this is a little too much information, and as these guys don't want to listen to logic, let's just break it down in a way that makes the most basic sense possible, which for now, I know it's tough for the Drake listeners to understand anything, but I am really going to try my best. And you know what? Just to get the real gotcha moment that they have been trying to get on Kendrick, let me remind everybody that in the year 2023, quick reminder, came off of an era where we got 1 to 2 Drake projects every single year for multiple years and years. This was where all of these problems with hip-hop and the charts started, and this is where hip-hop sales were in a decline, interest in the genre reached an all-time low, there were barely any #1 songs, and there were barely any #1 albums, and as a result, songs and records that became successful were at an all-time low. And let's just remember that in the worst year for hip-hop, arguably ever, by every quantifiable metric we had, Drake was the one leading things forward, and with the very precedent that he showed from the run of Dark Lane demo tapes, CLB, honestly never mind, Her Loss, and then For All the Dogs. It was him who put rap in the worst state it ever was in being at the center of it, without a Kendrick Lamar to trying to counter him at the rate he did in the 2010s with consistent music of his own, because rap did just lose all of its core values with Drake going unchecked. And people clearly got tired of hearing Drake sample bait people into listening to songs that didn't even feel like his older gimmicky records and reach an entire new low. And really, Drake reaching an entire new low is really the sum of this entire problem. Which really now, if you look at this current stat that you're trying to show, it is important to remember that this is a song list and not an albums one, which is very key to remember, because if we compare Drake to a Kendrick Lamar or a Clipse or a Tyler or anybody running the genre right now, well, Drake always was the song and the microwave moment guy as compared to a lot of these other big rappers who are album artists. And they say all of that to say that if you were going to look at something very specific to songs and moments, and you're not going to sit here and realize that the 2C slides and Way Too Trashes and all of the other forced trends are the ones that got us to the point of failure in 2023 for rap in the first place, and that honestly lost all of the goodwill that the audience ever had for the genre as a whole in terms of just casual listeners listening to the very Drake-coded styles that we heard for years in the 2010s and the early 2020s. I mean, you must be talking to a brick wall or something that has the Iceman written on it, because I don't know what else you could be doing if you don't see this. And so when you realize that songs like the 2C Slide are what got us here, and then with Drake co-signing people like Yeat and Ice Spice and trying to prop them up as the next big rappers, amplifying everything even more, I mean, all of this is what just ruined rap like we have never seen, and not anything else. And when we look at a stat like they are showing and they try to blame it on Kendrick, I mean, this is like trying to blame basketball players being trash on LeBron James, because although Kendrick has the biggest album of 2025 in terms of how much it is sold in GNX, and he has had the longest running #1 hit of the year in Luther as well, I mean, you're going to sit here and blame the guy who is leading the league in every statistical category, including assists, as his golden touch literally did get a hardcore rapping song with the Clipse all the way to the top 40 on the Billboard Hot 100, and he has done so much else. And so I say all of this to say, if you're really going to put this on Kendrick, you are delusional to do this, because Kendrick has been the only one making hits, and I guess a few other names have had some sort of motion in terms of making standout big songs, and I'm talking like very few names, which I could count them all on one hand, and it's pretty much been, aside from Kendrick, Tyler the Creator, Glorilla, Big X the Plug, and Cardi in terms of having lasting chart hits. And well, if we break it down, the reason why all these rappers, but mainly Kendrick, have had success on the charts, and why you in Drake and all of the other rappers from your side and the era where you made rap worse don't have any sort of motion, is because you were stuck within the same style and trends that you convinced yourself worked in 2023, despite the reality of that being that that year was the worst single year we maybe saw in the entire history of hip-hop, and that the genre was never going to come back from it at a point, as things were genuinely that bad. And again, when you see how much Drake has dropped, and he's only had like 1.5 songs have any sort of longevity on the charts with Nokia, and Somebody Loves Me kinda did, and everything else has failed. And once again, to just raise the stakes and look at things factually, when you see that other Drake era superstars like Travis Scott dropped and that came and went, and Lil Baby dropped and that came and went, and people that you wanted to be superstars like Jack Harlow, Yeat, and Ice Spice have done nothing. I mean, ultimately, the real crazy thing about everything Drake is doing right now and the narrative that they are trying to push onto Kendrick is that the problem is the Cupcake's fault for just degrading rap to something where people got tired of the copy and paste songs and music made for 7 seconds instead of 3 minutes. And yet again, despite you being the guy who did stuff like 2C Slide and tried to make that the norm in rap, you're sitting here and blaming everything on the only guy who has had actual hit songs over the past year or so. And when you just realize that, this all sounds so insane. But now to take a step further from this, I mean, I guess the one thing that is true when we look at this entire situation is that outside of Kendrick Lamar, hip-hop does have a hit-making and single problem right now, because due to all of the rappers who got in the game to gain some clout, leave the genre in a worse place than they found it, and be like Drake, well, they are all still floating around and trying to find any sort of an identity, and as they are all just making the same old stuff that we don't want to hear anymore and are hoping that it's gonna stick, just like Drake, who is convinced that the 2023 era of hip-hop was actually a good thing. I mean, this is why this stat looks like this, which once again is just the result and effects of Drake on hip-hop and music and why he has been so bad for it. And so really, when you just look around the genre and see that Kendrick Lamar is doing what he has all throughout his run, and then we also see Clipse reach the Vatican and put hip-hop on the same stage as Andrea Bocelli or all these other powerful artists and speakers from all over the world. And again, just to put this into perspective, Pusha T and Malice rapped on a stage where they were doing effects as groundbreaking like this for the entire world to see, which once again, I just will put out there. If you have not checked out this Vatican concert, I really could not recommend it more. It was one of the best performances I have watched in my entire life for so many reasons, and this is really why we are seeing the pushback on rap right now on the scale we are from Drake and all of these other people, which all does come down to the fact that as Drake is seeing that hip-hop is expanding into its truest form perhaps, which is to be as pure and powerful of a universal language as Kendrick, Push, or Malice has made it, Drake and all the other losers are scared because once again, you can't get to a place where rap MCs who have had a near #1 album, major songs, and a huge impact on the culture showing that rap belongs at the Vatican if your genre is represented by 2C slides. And when you just understand that, I mean, I would say that if this statistic is needed to get all these clout-chasing loser rappers out of here and to end Drake's run and all of the precedents he tried to set, also that much more beautiful things can come in place of it, let this happen over and over again, and I am serious because really, this is where we are at, and this is why these narratives are trying to put so much disrespect on the current state of rap that we are shifting to, and this just all comes down to the plain and simple principle that rap can't be used as a universal language to raise awareness, spread positivity, and powerful messages when nobody else can, and just to connect the world through music we can all resonate with, if we are still a genre that is celebrating Drake making 2C Slide and a million other rappers copying it, all to get a little moment of fame on the charts, and Drake and all them realize this, and they want rap to stay ignorant and disgusting to make sure that this doesn't happen because they are selfish and want to make the art form worse off than they ever left it. And I mean, between this and also seeing that we are in an era in rap where we have album artists running things, which I know is a change for some, but when you see Clipse's position on the charts and the total impact of that record and its staying power, or you see other amazing records like Chance the Rapper's Starline, which I really do love that album, or something like What Earl Sweatshirt dropped, which is a very powerful and fun record, or even the Jit album. I mean, the rappers who are setting the tone are not the ones who chase moments or scenes, but they paint whole pictures, and this is where we are at. And once again, what I will say, as some people don't understand this or try to act like it's a bad thing to take the genre down and bring it back to the worst era ever, is that again, you can still get a hit song and actually have it mean something with the way rap is shifted, and you can do something that numbers never could, and you can just see what I'm talking about when you look right on the screen. And so for Drake, who can't even get out of his and his team's own way with this leak drama, and anytime anything is bad, I mean, they just never take accountability and go back to good old reliable with their fall off, which is to just blame Kendrick Lamar for everything and take no accountability whatsoever. I just hope by now everybody realizes that this is the play at hand here, which just like we are seeing with the Iceman album itself and the videos and episodes and the whole Pinocchio thing, the whole goal of everything is to try and just ruin Kendrick Lamar and smear his name alongside all of these other rappers who are leading things forward. And well, what the whole idea of this is that if we can't compete with you musically, we're going to try to just ruin whatever you stand for and completely diminish your name. And while Drake may think that he has a little win or something here for getting this little gotcha moment that only the most impressionable people are going to believe, this isn't going to last for long, because once again, with all of these guys having big things coming up soon and just with their moments getting louder and louder as more people are are hearing about this Vatican show and more people are hearing about Clipse as a result. Well, hip hop is really just becoming such a beautiful universal language right before our own eyes, and when you just see that, I don't care what Drake wants to say, you just are going to realize that we are never going to go back to his era in the genre ever again. Now, with all this said, let me know. What do you think about Drake trying to put some nasty things on Kendrick Lamar and Clipse and all of these other rappers who are changing things? And what do you think is going to happen from here in this really never-ending struggle between these two sides in hip-hop? And well, just the general perception of the value of the charts even in 2025. Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And if you made it to this point in the video, you know channel memberships are live. And if you want to help me out, you can go ahead and do that. And I really do appreciate it. And now, if you want to see how right before this, well, speaking of the Drake leak drama, Drake did kind of actually end up getting himself into this situation in full, and he is really the only person to blame. Well, this is a big one, so check out the suggested video.